What's up, Kansas City? If you had evidence that your rights were being violated, would you speak out? Would you speak out and tell others, even if the people who violated your rights held most of the power and could possibly take away your freedom for doing so? At what cost would you speak out to protect yourself? At what cost would you speak out to protect your loved ones? Today's guest has answered that question from several different angles. He maintains that the Kansas City Police violated his Fourth Amendment rights and placed a GPS device on his vehicle the day after he filed a $100 million lawsuit against them. He was arrested and says the prosecutors made a special effort to keep him from having outside contact because of what he knew. He says that his First, Eighth, and 14th Amendment rights have been violated at one time or another. He wants to tell people about their constitutional right to know who all these people are who have been putting GPS devices on cars without warrants. He has quite a story to tell us. Welcome, Mr. Thomas E. Simmons, to What's Up, Kansas City.
How you doing?
I wanted to offer a disclaimer to our viewers real quick. A lot of the people's names who you may be hearing, prosecutors, judges, police officers, who are involved with your case, they're not necessarily here to defend themselves today. As I say on Generation Rap every Saturday morning between the hours 8 and 9, the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of Cascade Media Group. With that said, I'd like to offer you the floor, Mr. Simmons. Can you tell us how you first came to be involved with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department?
It basically started in 1999. Kansas City Police Department came to my house and said they had a search warrant to search my house looking for stolen property. And they never showed a warrant. They never showed us this warrant. And I didn't have basically I never found a warrant for almost 8 years later, you know. And that came from Deputy Chief Kevin Masters, who uncovered the search warrant. And after he uncovered the search warrant and we found the warrant and what it looked like, then it was our right to sue after that. And we sued, my lawyer sued for $100 million on April the 3rd of 2009. It was a Friday at 4:35 p.m. we filed the lawsuit. The next day, on April the 4th, the police came to my house and arrested me for stealing a car, tampering with a motor vehicle. And the motor vehicle belonged to my job where I worked at Lee Summit Dodge. And I had an access to drive the cars, whenever I got ready. I probably couldn't just keep them overnight. And I probably wouldn't have kept it overnight, but I was arrested and taken to jail, so I couldn't take the car back. And the police department had my superiors at the job to file a stolen car report to keep me in jail.
Because of this lawsuit that you
I
filed that said they came to your place illegally with a false search warrant.
Right.
Okay.
And they got away with this for all this time because nobody could find the warrant. So if you can't find the warrant, you can't file any charges on the warrant if there's a discrepancy in the warrant or anything else. Mm-hmm. And this is the warrant that they came to my house, and there's 3 factors in this warrant that made this warrant unconstitutional and illegal. One, it wasn't signed on the face by a judge. You got to be signed on the face by a judge in the body of the warrant. 2, it didn't show what you was looking for in the house. It just had see attached sheets. You can never put see attached sheets on a search warrant. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The proper wording had to be incorporated. Mm-hmm. You have to use the word of incorporation and saying like incorporated herein is whatever this document that you attach. And there's a 2-pronged test that have to be applied to the search warrant. 1, the search warrant had to be physically attached to them documents to make one document, and 2, it have to incorporate them documents by reference.
You seem very knowledgeable about this. Can you tell me how, you were arrested, how former city councilwoman Carol Cole helped you uncover transcripts that somehow connect GPS tracking system to all of this?
Well, she didn't help me find transcripts. She found a police report.
A police report, excuse me.
Right. And from that police report, we uncovered that the cars had GPS on them. My car had a GPS.
This is before you filed the lawsuit or after?
This is for the GPS. I filed a lawsuit behind the search warrant
Right.
in 2009.
Right.
And I filed the GPS lawsuit against them in 2013.
Right.
And so for them, when I uncovered these documents, right after I uncovered it, they got me in jail on a $150,000 bond for tampering with a motor vehicle, which is, ridiculous. Cash only bond. So that makes it where you can't get out, unless you put up $150,000.
Who has that kind of money?
Right. And so they know that, but that's, all this was to keep me locked up so I wouldn't expose what this stuff would happen in this search warrant. And the people that was involved with this search warrant who concealed the documents in the search warrant, and I hate to say it, but it was two judges, which was Judge Charles Atwell and Judge Michael Manners.
So you decided to speak out and you faced dire consequences because of it. Let me read a little bit about United States versus Jones, which you talked to me on the phone. We said that states it's illegal for police officers to file GPS system devices without first getting a search warrant. United States versus Jones was a United States Supreme Court case which held that installing a GPS tracking device on a vehicle and using that device to monitor the vehicle's movement constitutes a search under the Fourth Amendment. The device tracked this particular person's 24 hours a day for 4 weeks. The Supreme Court justices voted unanimously that this violated the Fourth Amendment, unanimously, and they were split on the reasoning. The majority held that installing a GPS device on the defendant's car, by doing that, the police had committed a trespass on private property, and that the trespass constituted an unreasonable search per se. You can go Google United States versus Jones for more information. How that case was decided in 2002, Mr. Simmons. How do you?
That case was decided 2012.
2012, rather. How would the ruling behind that? How would that, if it didn't become federal law until 2012? What, if anything, can you do about what the Kansas City Police did to you in 2010?
Well, actually, Jones' case happened in 2005, and they was making a decision on a case that happened in 2005. My case happened in 2009. So if it affected Jones in 2005, it had to affect me too in 2009. So that's just, how that went. And, but one thing that we noticed was that the police officer who was putting these GPSs on the cars, come to find out that he wasn't getting these GPS through proper channels, obviously, because nobody knows where he got them from. Mm-hmm. And he said he had put GPS, and I'll let you read the transcript, under sworn oath on November the 7th. This guy took the stand, and by the name of Brad Lemon, that's the police, and he's still working as a police officer, after they knew that he put GPSs on cars.
And not just your car?
Not just my car. Numerous of cars, he said.
He admitted this on the transcript that you read.
He admitted that. He said he did it numerous of times. And I would think that people in Kansas City would like to know, because, how many people have, you might have a GPS on your car. How you know?
I don't.
Alvin Brooks, the mayor, the police chief.
Police officers are interested in me going to Quick Trip. Right?
Yeah, he has unfettered access to GPS, so that means
Police
that
chief.
he can do whatever he wants to. His wife at home might have GPS on her car, who knows, But this is what they're allowed to do. And then the prosecutor, Jean Peter Baker, she was involved. And seemingly to me, everybody who was involved and covered up this GPS, they promoted them. Jean Peters Baker went to the top prosecutor. Jim Knazer, who was the prosecutor at the time, he went to judge. Kevin Hurl, who was the prosecutor that was only involved in this here, he went to judge. Everybody who covered it up was promoted.
Now, on your Facebook page, you are asking for Baker, Young, and Parsons to step down. That's Jean Peters Baker, Judge Young, and Assistant DA Don Parsons.
They was all the ones who kept me from contacting. What I did was, once I got the police reports, and you read the police reports, and once I got the police reports, and I found out that from the 26th, March the 26th of 2009, all the way to April the 4th, 2009, the police watched the suspect get into a stolen car that they said they knew was stolen, and let him drive over. He's a black guy, and he drove over to Kansas, in Perry Village, broke into houses while they watched him, and get back into the car, drive back to where in the Citadel where he got into the car, and got out and walked away. I just don't believe that nobody in this town. I've been living in Kansas City all my life, and I ain't never known them to let a black guy go into a white neighborhood and break in the house and they don't arrest him or shoot him or something, you know. At least he gonna get shot, you know. And they let him do this for several days. I mean, I got police reports where the guy went over on Brookside and went in backyards and ran out of the backyard, and people called 911, and they were like, I mean, what did they tell the people? In one case, on the 27th, the guy got in the car, went over to this house, broke into this house. When the woman called and told them that her house had been broke into, they came to the scene. The same police officers that supposed to have been watching all this, and told the woman, they surveyed the area and told her that nobody seen anything.
So you, in a sense, you're saying they're ineffective, and you want their resignation.
I mean, why are we building a $50 million police department over here, crime lab and all this, when we got police officers that see stuff? We don't need this crime lab. We need new police. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about Mr. Simmons, how you were perceived a threat when you were in jail and you were prevented from communicating with anyone.
I stayed, when I wrote a letter to a homeowner, and I sent the police reports that we have uncovered to this homeowner and told her to go to Channel 5 and take the police reports. Obviously, when she got the letter and the police reports, she notified the police. They came, the same police who was involved in this cover-up, went to her and got the police reports from her and the letter. They took the letter to the prosecutor, Don Parson. She gets the letter, and she goes to Judge Sheber, tells him that I have wrote some victims. They wasn't victims in my case, you know. So she says I wrote them. So Judge Sheber files an order to take my whole discovery from me. And discovery is all the documents that's involved in your case to tell what happened in your case. Everybody that ever has some type of litigation against them have a discovery. I'm the only person, I think, in the state of Missouri, and probably in the last 200 years probably, that never had a discovery. And they tried to take me to court without a discovery. If you don't have a discovery, you don't know the evidence against you. So how do you proceed to any trial? You will be a fool, you know, to go to trial without your discovery of knowing what's against you. You'll be a fool. And so they took the discovery from me and put me, seized everything, and told me that I couldn't put anything in the U.S. mail. I couldn't write nobody but the attorney that I had. Now, mind you, I'm in litigation on this search warrant in federal court. And so I have to respond to things they have, and I had to call, I had a black attorney at the time, and they didn't want her to be having this case at this time. You know, they didn't want her to, so they made it where I couldn't even write her. So I continuously to write people, because now I'm challenging my constitution. Just like when the white guys came downtown and stood outside the courthouse maybe about a month ago, the Nazis and everything, what they did.
Freedom of speech.
Yeah, they were standing on their freedom of speech. Right. And so I'm saying, you're violating my First Amendment. I'm not going to let you do this. I'm going to continue to write because I can. And if you say I can't, then you violate the First Amendment.
And then were you allowed to write?
No, I wrote, and then the prosecutor wrote a personal letter, something that's never been heard of. Wrote a personal letter to the jailer, McCoy, Major McCoy, which is a black guy, and told him to seize all of my writing materials from me and make it work. And the only way that you can seize my writing material is you have to seize my writing material and you have to put me in what they call the hold, administrative detention. Because if you're in a cell with other people, you still can probably get access to that. So they put me in this hold, and on every shift that came in, they got 3 shifts to come in. Every shift came in was directed to search my cell and to seize any paper or pencil I had. And that included a Bible. I was denied a Bible. And told me I couldn't have nothing with paper on it because they didn't want this out, what the police had been doing and what the prosecutor knew about. 2
questions. How long have you been free, and do you still have legislation in the courts pending?
Right, I do. And they had me locked down under distracted condition for 2 years, from February 25th of 2010 all the way to January 6th of 2012. And mind you, I had a daughter who was murdered on February 23rd of 2010. And this woman locked me up, so I wouldn't have no access or nothing to find out anything about my daughter's death. She did this was all for retaliation. You know, this woman did to retaliate for what I was trying to expose about this search warrant and the GPS that the people put in court. In 1999, they come in my house with a blank piece of paper and said it was a search warrant. In 2009, they come with no warrant and put a GPS on my car to follow me. They had to get something on me. And their own GPS equipment told the story. Because every time they tried to say I was over here at this house on the 27th, they said the police officer, Kevin Barr, said he saw me at this house. He seen me driving this car on 74th and Holmes, a stolen car. The GPS showed I was at work in Lee Summit at the same time. He said, and they had police officers in Lee Summit that said they was watching me.
Sounds like a lot of inconsistencies, but you are still involved with court proceedings,
right,
as pertains to this case.
And that case there too.
Let me ask you, what do you hope to gain by appearing on our show today, other than to educate us?
Nothing, just to educate you more or less, because too many things probably ain't gonna be done. You know, people, you know, they hear about stuff and they you know, they know how bad it is and whatever, but you know, you got to get people to come together, you know. And like I say, this prosecutor down here, I mean, she knows everything about all this illegal activity, but they don't never do it unless it's, you know, to blacks. When it's to blacks, you know, they do whatever. If it was white, this was there, they will be on it, they will be brought into the attention, everything. But they got everybody scared to say anything about it, you know.
How has the public reacted since you've spoken up and start telling your story?
Well, I done did a lot of stuff and people are amazed. The only reason is because I have documents to support what I say. A lot of people would be telling you about, well, this happened. Then when you say, well, can you prove it? Nobody can prove it. Just like I showed you today when you asked me, because you didn't believe it the other day when I told you, I said, well, I got a transcript where the police officer says he done this. You said, you got that? And I said, yeah. And so now you see it for yourself.
I have seen What's Up, Kansas City.
Yeah.
It's very meticulous in the paperwork. Sections, certain sections are even highlighted.
Right.
You compared your journey with both Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. Gotti, excuse me.
John Gotti.
John Gotti
is the only other person that I know that they did what they did to him and put him in a hole and stripped him from newspaper, radio, TV, writing materials, contact visits, and contact with the whole outside world. I mean, I was in the same position as people that's in the terrorists, more or less. They had treated me like a terrorist. And everybody in the county jail was like, man, what the hell? I've never seen this. There's people that have been there 30 years said they'd never seen what they was doing to me. And they even made the people in the county jail not talk to me, tell them, because they didn't want me to tell them anything. And it was so bad, they came to where the cell was and put a listening device on top of the door. And one day I asked Cass, what you doing? He said, man, we putting a listening device up here. We don't hear everything you say. To who? I mean, this is how bad it was, you know. And so it can't get no worse than that when they put a listening device over top of your door, you know, and restrict your family from coming to see you. I even had a son that got killed, and they wouldn't even let me go to his funeral. You know, they let me go to my daughter's, but they wouldn't let me go to my son. This is just another form of retaliation by Don Parsons, the prosecutor. You know, she was fully behind it, and the reason she was behind so much because she was the one that signed the search warrant to come in my house. And she had to know, the police had to know to tell her, we put this GPS on the car. So she had to ask them, say, well, where did you get a warrant from any judge? And they had to tell her no. And when she knew that, she proceeded anyway. Because when they told her that they had put this GPS on my car for 10 days and followed me around and invading my privacy, she should have then immediately said, no, I'm not signing this warrant, and I'm going to ask that you guys be fired. Because she should know the law. She should have known that. The Judge Youngs, who placed me in the hole and put me all these restrictions on me, he knew that I have a constitutional right under the 8th Amendment to have writing material, and he sees that. No judge can even do that. No judge can go override the Constitution, but he did.
It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
Mr. Simmons, what do you think would have happened if you hadn't spoken up?
Oh, shoot. If I hadn't spoken up,
Where would you be right now?
oh, probably still in jail, and probably it's a number of things that could happen, you know, if I hadn't, you know, because that's what they try to do, is keep you from saying anything, you know. I mean, there's a ton of things that happen downtown. Take, for example, this here. I had an attorney that told me, my family paid him $10,000 to file my appeal in this case. This guy, Pat Peters, forged the court reporter's documents, her transcript. He forged her transcript and said that he argued my case before the appeals court. And I let you read a document today where the prosecutor herself, this document said there was no appeal. That's the document right there. She said there was no appeal. Kathy Fennell, she's a black woman. She wrote that to the court and said, we got a serious problem. Because the appeal is filed 10 days after your sentence. And it's a timeline type of thing. If it's not filed in 10 days, then the appeal court don't have jurisdiction.
2 more questions. Give us a timeline of where you're going with this in the new year.
I'm in court, in federal court on litigation against the prosecutor for what she did. She knowingly did what she did and violated constitutional right knowingly. She wrote a personal letter to the jailer on the prosecutor's stationery because she didn't want, I was getting too close of finding out what she had did.
You're in court?
Yeah, I'm in court in that federal court. I'm in federal court on the GPS. I done filed a $100 million lawsuit on both these issues. And in this case here, I filed this in state court. The state court filed a motion to remove it to federal court because they said there was federal questions involved. This case sit in court for 2 years in federal court. Then the state came back when they seen that the federal court wasn't going to dismiss it. Then they filed a motion to remove it back to state court. Now, if you said that the case was a federal question that should be in federal court, and you filed to take it out of state court to put it in federal court, then you come back and file a motion to take it out of federal court and put it back in state court. Because now you want to put it in where your people are in, your judges, your fixed judges, to have them to do whatever you want them to do.
Look out for your own.
This been in court for 5 years. And just last week, they put it in front of this judge. 5 judges don't recuse themselves. Every time you get in front of a judge, they recuse themselves. Now it's in front of this judge, Messina. She's got it in front of her. So she set a court date for February. But she just announced her retirement 2 weeks ago. So it ain't gonna be in front of her, so it's gonna go in front of another judge, and then he's gonna do.
How do you feel about racism and the criminal justice system? I have a statistic that says black males born in 2001, the chance of going to jail is 1 in 3. Thus, black boys are 5 times as likely than white boys to go to jail. Does that statistic?
Oh, I believe that. You can go to county jail and see that, that statistic, it speaks for itself.
Mhm.
Yeah, I believe that.
Let me go ahead and give you the last word here before our producer's giving me the wrap-up signal. Do you have any last words for the What's Up Kansas City?
Oh, I'm just hoping that people understand what's going on down here and understand who they elect as the official. And I think that this Judge Youngs, I think Gene Peters Baker, I think that we done filed a petition for these people to step down out of office. Just like Judge Manners stepped down when the evidence came out about him. Judge Atwell stepped down when these judges just stepped down in the last 7 or 8 months because these documents then came forward with them involved in the cover-up, and they done stepped down. They'll tell you that they stepped down for reasons, other reasons, but I know why they stepped down, And so this is the reason why, but we should know who our elected officials, who we have downtown now, And these people, when they cover up stuff, we need to be right on it and find out. When somebody tell you that this happened to them, we should jump right on it,
What's up, Kansas City? I'm afraid that's all the time that we have for today's show. I do implore our viewers to be active in your policies and procedures that are being enacted in your communities that affect you. Frederick Douglass has a quote, "Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have the exact measure of the injustice and wrong which will be imposed on them." I'm Glenn Brian Frizzell, your host. Go online for more video at www.whatsupkansascity.net. And remember, the sky is the limit. If you shoot for the moon and you miss, at the very least, you would have landed among the stars.
What's up, Kansas City? I'm Brianna Garlington.
I'm Charles Williams.
And I'm Derek Parker.
And we are CMG.
CMG.
And we would like to welcome you to follow both websites. That's whatsupkansascity.net and cascadesports.tv.
Some of our programs consist of Are You Awoke?, Coach's Corner, and many more interviews, news, and blogs.
Be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram at Cascade Media Group and Twitter at What's Up KC and Cascade Sports.
And remember, the victory we call success
Goes to the best prepared.
And when you invest in your community,
You are really just investing in yourself.
So don't just like it, share it.